the heart of what we do is based in creativity, and we always are looking for ways to be more creative. Why? Because the more creative we're thinking, the more creative life that we're living, the more it's going to come out in our playing, and the more it's going to come out in our teaching. Also, we all have had those moments where we get stuck, we get a little bit down, and hopefully I can give you some ideas for getting unstuck and getting more motivated. So let's just jump into it. The first thing, I have two books that I want to talk about. The first is this book called The Creative Habit by Twyla Tharp. And I think Joe has got some pictures of the book cover there and a picture of Twyla. This, I think, is one of the greatest books. It says, The Creative Habit, Learn It and Use It for Life. I'm going to tell you just a little bit about Twyla Tharp. She's been a dance choreographer, modern dance, classical dance choreographer for the last like 35 years. She did all of the dance scenes in Amadeus. She did a Billy Joel musical that was Tony Award winning, and she got some Emmys for working with Baryshnikov, and she has just been on top of kind of the creative choreographic scene, particularly in New York, for years and years. And this book, I think, is one of the best books in terms of talking about a creative life and how to do it and how to go about it. So I really recommend it. I'm going to use it as the sort of springboard for today's discussion. The way I want to do it is I've read this book a bunch of times, and I want to talk to you about sort of 5 really important concepts, and then some things that she does in each concept and ideas to get going. So let's jump into concept 1. And I think Joe can put it across the bottom. And concept 1 is that creativity is a habit. And I can't tell you how important I think that this is. You know, a lot of times we think of, and the book talks quite a bit about this, about, you know, the great artists of our time. Everybody thinks about Mozart and Bach and all these different people in any of the arts. And they tend to think, oh, this idea that the muse really strikes, you know, that the muse kind of touches this person on the forehead and says, there you go, you can make a masterpiece now. And what Twyla Tharp does in the book is says that it's actually not that way, that creativity is a habit that's born out of ritual. And so that's the first concept that I really want to get across and talk about. She talks about Mozart, and she talks about the skill that it takes to bring a creative life to be. And so that's, I think, really cool. And so she goes into detail about, like, what is this creative habit that we're talking about? And there are 3 aspects of it that I want to talk about, and that is the ritual. She talks about how she gets in a cab every day at 4:30 in the morning and goes to her dance studio, which she has heated really warm because she really likes to work under warm conditions. And she gets in and she starts her workout, her dance workout, every single day. And this is her concept of having some sort of a ritual to get things going. I think this is absolutely fantastic, and every great artist that I've known has this built into them. I mean, I certainly do. If I only practiced on the days that I wanted to practice or the days that I felt good about practicing, it just wouldn't work. So having some kind of ritual is very, very important, and having a ritual where the environment works for you. So what is that studio? You know, I know different people who really like a very bright place to work, people who like a very dark place to work, people who like their workplace to be very, very warm, people who like their workplace to be really brisk and have a lot of fresh air in it. So the first thing that I'd like you to think about is, what is your current workspace and how creative is it? Does it really match you from a creative perspective? What are the things that you bring with you into your ritual, into your rehearsal? Do you feel better if you walk in with your big thing of Mountain Dew, which I know Joe does? Do you feel good if you walk in with your warm coffee or your warm tea or whatever it is? But what would make you feel good? I mean, for me, I like to walk into the practice room with a cup of coffee, if it's morning or afternoon. For some reason, for me, that just signifies a little bit of time to work. You know, and it comes from when I was in college and we would have our coffee breaks and come back. But whatever it is for you, designing that ritual so that you take a little of your personal spark or your personal happiness into it, and you create the environment for the ritual. Why is this important? The ritual is important because it stops you from questioning why you do it, and it stops you from questioning, do I like doing this? You know, the minute she steps out of her door in the morning and gets into the cab, then it's no more about why am I doing it or do I like doing it. It's just that you're doing it. that impetus to get you going is so, so, so important. So think about, what can you do to make it so that you just absolutely do it? I knew a violist at USC, and I always used to see him in the morning, and I was said, Aaron, you're so good about getting up and rehearsing. How do you do that? He said, if I stayed home, I wouldn't practice. I wouldn't do anything. And he said, so every day I have to come to school or go, I think he went and got a coffee at Starbucks or something like that. But he had to get out the door and do that. And that was the way that his day got going. For some people, it's you have to get in the shower to get going. For other people, it's something. But figure out what single thing that you can adjust in your day that kind of makes it so that it just impels you forward without you even thinking about it. So if you get in the shower and just go to that room, you don't even have time to really stop. So that's a really important aspect of it, that ritual and the environment. The other thing that she talks about on this is facing fears. And one of the things that she really invites you to do is kind of analyze where are your fears and to write them down. That's part of this creativity as a habit. If you are constantly allowing your fears to break your habit or to stop you from practicing, then you don't have that habit in place. So really writing down what those things are. The book goes into quite a bit more detail. The fear that I don't have anything to say, the fear that people I don't have a new idea, the fear that I'm not going to be good enough, all those things, the fear that I'm not going to get where I want to be, all those things are so, so, so important, and they are very real. But in the book, she kind of attacks each one of them and says, why they don't help you and how you can combat them. So the second thing in terms of making your creative habit, finding the place, the second thing is facing your fears. Figure out what they are and talk yourself down from them. And you can use the book definitely as a guide for that. But really identifying what's keeping you from practicing. Is it that you are afraid you won't know what to do in the practice room? Or is it afraid if you're not going to get it good enough? Or whatever that is. So facing your fears is another real specific aspect of it. The third thing that she says is eliminate distractions. And of course, easier said than done. And we are so connected. We have our phones and we have, things all over the place, and we have so many things that we're thinking about. But that is also part of making it a habit. How do you eliminate things? So maybe that first hour that you get in the practice room or wherever your creative space is, you don't even take your phone with you. So you can't even see it, That could be really, really helpful for some people. She also talks a little bit bigger about getting rid of distractions. For example, she will say, don't read the newspaper for a week. Or like I tell people, don't look at YouTube for a week. Because we don't really realize how much those things impact us, by looking on YouTube and watching so many other people with finished products, sometimes that can stop our forward motion. So what other things can you eliminate, or even just for a certain period of time, to see? So those three aspects of the habit forming are really all about that first concept. And those are, again, the ritual, really setting your environment and the thing that's going to impel you, get you in the practice room, facing your fears, identifying them and facing them down, and then seeing what distractions you can eliminate from your life. So if you do any of these things, even if you just choose one of them and start to do those more, that's going to start to become a habit. Somebody once told me it takes 21 days to make a habit. So if you can do this for 21 days, then hopefully you'll start to see some differences. What this does for you, why do we care? The habit makes it so that being creative is not such a big step. Anything that becomes a habit, like for example, for you, it's not a big deal to go brush your teeth, right? Because that's something you do every day. You can it's just something that you do. It's totally a habit. So by making being creative a habit, even we don't wait for the muse to inspire us, then we can make it so that every aspect of our day becomes more creative. Suddenly, you won't be afraid of the practice room. You won't worry what to do next. You won't be afraid of the blank canvas or the empty room, so to speak. The other thing about it is that the more of a habit you are, more in habit of being creative, the more other things around you become inspiring. Because you're spending so much regular time doing this, every person you meet, every conversation you have, every work of art that you see, every music, that every piece of music that you hear suddenly becomes part of your process. So things start to really connect more and zing more. So those are all around that creative habit concept.